South Carolina for Fight Lab 22. I'm your host, Tom Ziegler, along with the Fight Tech, Paul Boo.
This is a very exciting atmosphere. We're here in front of the troops on the Air Force Base. We got military troops. They've opened the base up to the public as well. This place is a packed house, electric fights. Man, it's just overall just a really, really exciting event.
Great card, 3 title fights on the line. Stay tuned to MMA on the Rise.
Did you bring anything for the clothing drive?
No.
Too bad. You get a free Bud Light for every article of clothing you donate.
Sweet. Morning, Bob.
Morning, Jim.
That was my pen.
Oh.
Keep it.
It's for a good cause.
You're hired.
Welcome to the team.
I'll get you a Bud Light.
Hold that! Hold that!
Thank you. It's chilly in here.
Newton Graham, hold please.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Gross.
I'd like to congratulate Sarah on running the most successful clothing drive ever. Great job.
I'm good.
Tonight we have 2 more action-packed fights from Fight Lab 22 from Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina. First, we'll have a featherweight bout between Joey Bennett and Charles Philly Johnson. Then we have a welterweight matchup between 2 debut fighters, 18-year-old Dakota Hill versus the 34-year-old Brian Jones. Check this out. MMA on the Rise. We are here at Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina. I'm your host, Tom Ziegler. I'm here with the Fight Tech, Paul Boo, and Hayastan IMB pro fighter Kevin, the master of Cool Ferrant. We've got a 170-pound matchup. Brian Jones making his way to the cage.
We got Brian Jones, 170 pounds, 5'11", making his amateur debut here tonight. He's coming to us from North Carolina, 34 years old.
5'11", 170 pounds. This is definitely his first fight, but a lot of these guys you never know, because you get guys that come in here first fight and they're really brand new guys. You get other guys that are already instructor level before they take their first fight. So
well, he's 34 years old, Paul, so he could have a ton of experience that we do not know about right now.
Exactly, and that's my point. When you get these older guys that come in, 34 is not old, but for a debut MMA guy, it's not your typical debut age. So a lot of times you got guys that have already had 10, 12 years experience before they ever even walk in the cage. You got other guys who train for 6 months and they take their first fight, so you never really know.
Yeah, at the other end of the spectrum, his opponent, Dakota Hill, is actually 18 years old. He's making his amateur debut. He's 5'10", 170 pounds. He'll be making his way to the cage soon.
So we got the animal, Dakota Hill, 18 years old, 5'10", 170 pounds, fighting out of South Carolina.
Definitely, they got their same weight, both new to fight, new as far as debut goes. They're the same height, same weight, but it's the big difference here is the age. You've got the youth with the 18-year-old, but then you got the experience with the 34-year-old, and I don't just necessarily mean fight experience. I mean, you know, someone at 34 years old is a lot of times are less likely to get shaken up by something as, say, an 18-year-old when it comes to nerves.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Plus, you've got something called man strength.
Yeah.
34 years old, he's still in his physical prime. He definitely has his man strength. At 18 years old, could be a very physical specimen. He's got good reflexes. He's very spry. But you know, does he have that same hardness in his bones? You know, has his testosterone fully kicked in? Sometimes that's just not the case with an 18-year-old kid.
You know, 18 years old, a lot of times people assume that guys are at their physical peak at that point, but they're really not. I mean, you know, as far as athleticism goes, an ability to heal themselves very quickly and make quick gains in strength level, yeah, that is there. You know, a 34-year-old doesn't necessarily have as quick of a hill time, doesn't necessarily make quick gains in strength levels, but they've already sort of they basically have denser muscle fibers. So therefore, that strength is usually sustainable. It's something that they just have a natural strength that the typical 18-year-old is not going to have developed yet. I think they're actually showing their age a little bit here. You got Jones, 34, and he's just calm, cool, collective. Looks like he's another day at the office. You got Dakota Hill, who seems a little bit more jittery, dancing around, won't quite make eye contact. But, you know, I guess time will tell, see what's going to happen.
We'll see what happens when the cage door locks and the bell rings.
They both weighed in at 170 pounds, but Jones in the cage looks to be the bigger man tonight.
For sure. Jones looks to be definitely a weight class ahead.
Well, the animal comes in with a flurry and goes in for the clinch right in front of us against the cage.
Looks like Jones was trying to jump the guillotine.
Dakota's actually holding the cage. He let it go now. But Dakota came in really aggressive with his hands, and it looks like it caught Jones off guard, really.
Yeah, Jones went for an Osotogari, missed it. Dakota's now in side control, trying to do damage. Nice job recovering guard.
Let's see what kind of guard Jones has off his back here.
It's like Jones is working his way into a guillotine. He actually has an arm in. He does stand up with it. He doesn't have the guillotine, but he pulls back down and reverses it, and he ends up on top. Nice transition.
Got Jones in side control. He's trying to posture up and land shots. Maybe going for a Darce here.
Jones seems to be looking for the Darce or guillotine choke throughout this first round.
Now he's going back for that guillotine choke
arm in
again.
guillotine.
It looks relatively tight.
He does not have the arm in.
Hill's taps.
Yeah, he got it.
And Hill taps out.
He got it with the arm in guillotine.
Now it didn't look to be actually extremely deep, but he just pulled it hard. It looks like it showed Hill's a little bit of inexperience there. I believe Hill could probably came out of that if he would have known. But you know, Jones, not taking any credit from Jones, he did what he had to do and he got the win.
Referee David James calls a halt to action. 1 minute, 12 seconds into the first round. Your winner out of the blue corner, Brian Jones.
Brian Jones winning his MMA amateur debut. Congratulations. You are watching MMA on the Rise.
For Captain and Colas.
So, how long do you think before they realize we're gone?
Hey, here we go.
We got all night.
Captain Morgan. Got what it takes to be a captain?
We're the Hooter Girls, and you're watching MMA on the Rise.
My name is Curtis Cloward. I train out of Arikion Fighting Sports and Fight to Win Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm managed by Clay Reynolds. About 5 years ago, I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai, just kind of as a hobby, and then when the opportunity came to finally start fighting in North Carolina, they re-legalized it. After about a year and a half, I got in and started competing, and I've been competing ever since.
Good body kick.
I don't think of myself as having one particular specialty. I like to consider myself a well-rounded fighter. Not particularly great at anything, but I can take a fight wherever it needs to be. I've got a good ground game with a good jiu-jitsu coach. I got a lot of wins by submission. I've got really good striking. For considering the local competition, I think my striking is up in the top level for North Carolina. And right now I'm just working on my wrestling here at Arikion, so there's no better place to learn. I wasn't actually involved in any athletics as a child. I didn't start training martial arts till I was 21. Just needed a hobby, looking for something to get into. I was kind of bored with my life as it was and just fell in love with it as soon as I hit the mats. And ever since then, I've just been training nonstop. I love learning everything, learning new things every day, and just love the competition. I had 10 amateur fights. I had a record of 7-3 as an amateur. I finished the majority of my fights within the first round. Currently, I'm 1-3 as a professional. I feel like my record is a little misleading. The majority of my fights I've been fighting at a higher weight class. I'm actually undefeated at 145, which is where I'm going to stay. I feel good. I'm finally cutting the weight properly and going in and feeling a lot stronger. The majority of my losses, I've gotten caught in 2 submissions where it was a guy who had more experience and legitimately just got me and got the better of me that day. Other than that, I've just had strong wrestlers hold me down and control me for the entirety of the fight. So I feel now that I'm working on my wrestling properly and I'm much improved on the wrestling defense, and I'm finally fighting at my natural weight class. I'm going to just excel against the competition. I feel good walking around 160, so I don't have to cut too much. I actually just recently got into cutting weight. Before I would just kind of fight at whatever I walked around at, but now I feel really good at 145. I'm going to stick around here, and from now on, featherweight's where I'm at. I'm fighting at 145 as a professional. I fought between 155 and 145 as an amateur, but I never cut any weight more than maybe 2 pounds a week before a fight. So this is the first time I really feel strong and more powerful at my fighting weight. I train 7 days a week. I vary how hard, at different times, so my body can rest a little bit. But between working full time, having 2 jobs, and then training full time, there's not really much time to rest. So I get in as much as I can: cardio, strength training, wrestling, grappling, submission grappling, Muay Thai. I get it all in as much as possible. My diet, I like to eat pretty healthy anyways. It's definitely revolutionized my diet since I started fighting. I didn't think about health in general before I really started getting into athletics, and right now I just eat healthy, treat my body like a machine, just fuel it right, and it makes all the world a difference. I've always been a big fan of George St. Pierre. I really admire his fighting style. I admire his fighting spirit, and I admire his approach to the sport. He, like me, he doesn't fight angry. He's not in there because he likes to fight. He's in there as more of a competition. He looks at it like it truly, like what it is, which is a sport. So there's no room for anger or animosity towards your opponent. You're just in there to compete and win. And that's the way I look at it. It's just another day in the office for me, so there's no sense in me getting caught up in any kind of drama beyond what it is, which is just a competition. Cool. Another athlete that I really look up to is Manny Pacquiao, for instance. It's not MMA, but it's still a fighting sport, and I just really like his humility and just the talent that he shows. Well, I'm 26 years old, so I feel like I have a lot of fighting ahead of me. you know, I think you'll be hard-pressed to find anybody fighting professionally who would say that their goal isn't to make it into a big organization like the UFC. That being said, obviously, you know, I have no delusions of what my skill level is. I get better every time I compete, and I'm training every day. But it's obviously it's hard to make that leap, and once you do make that leap, it's hard to excel at that level. So ideally, I would love to get there, and I think that I could be a very competitive fighter at that level as well. But you know, it's a long road to get there, especially with my record as it is. I've got a lot of work to do, so I just take it one fight at a time. And you know, my goal is just to keep fighting as long as I can, and then once I feel, you know, I can't fight anymore, I always want to keep my my journey through martial arts going and teach and help bring up another generation of fighters like myself. I'd like to fight as often as possible. As it is, knowing my body, I feel like every 2 months is probably good. Gives you a little time to recover after each fight, and you know, as long as I can get a good solid 6 weeks of camp for each fight, I feel like I can compete at a top level. I've been asked why do I fight several times, and honestly, it's kind of hard to describe to somebody who's, you know, never been there. Personally, I hate the idea of fighting outside of competition. You'll never see me in a street fight. If I'm backed into a corner, I will defend myself, but otherwise I'm tightening up the sneakers and running out. As far as just the competition goes, it's just, to me, it's the purest form of sport. You know, there's no funky rules, no uniforms, no end zones, no ball, you know, no cheerleaders. It's just you and another person competing at just the most bare minimum level. You know, who can defeat the other person.
Me? I'm gonna conquer a dream. I'm not stopping till the road ends.
I'm going where the wind takes me.
Me? I'm not making any more excuses.
Fernando Estero, you're watching MMA on the Rise.
MMA on the Rise here at Shaw Air Force Base. Fight Lab 22. I'm your host, Tom Ziegler, along with the Fight Tech, Paul Boo and Kevin, the Master of Cool Ferrant. We've got Charles Philly Johnson coming to the cage, 145-pound matchup. What do we know about Charles Johnson?
Well, he fights out of South Carolina, 5'9", 24 years old, young guy. He's 0-2. He's got losses to Jason Reno, Gregory Holtz, both in the third round, submission or referee stoppage to strikes.
It's funny, I wonder if Charles Johnson is originally from Philadelphia. Anybody with the nickname Philly, you'd have to imagine, could possibly be from Philadelphia.
That was my assumption.
I've known several Charles Johnsons in my life, and they were all complete badasses.
I see no different out of this Charles Johnson. It takes a true BA to come to the cage.
Absolutely. Despite his record 0-2, he's going to get a chance to get his first win, his first amateur win here in the cage.
Now, is this a 145 or a 55 fight?
145.
It is a 45. Okay.
145.
Because his Joey Bennett, his opponent, is actually listed as 155 on the official mixedmartialarts.com record, but that could be from a prior fight. He might be coming down in weight now to meet Charles Johnson.
And his opponent, from the Miami, South Carolina, Joey Bennett.
Joey Bennett about to enter the arena, Shaw Air Force Base. Joey Bennett coming to the ring with 1-1 record. He's 26 years old, 5'9". Previous fights at 155. His MMA debut, he had a win against Eric Shurasinski, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Struzinski.
All right.
Thank you, Fight Tech. He won by triangle choke. His next fight was at Fight Lab 18. He lost a submission to strikes to Daniel Sandlin.
Yeah, that was a very good fight over at the Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. Daniel Sandlin is a very, very skilled fighter, very strong, top EJJ game.
You know, and this is the first time that Fight Lab's come to Shaw Air Force Base. They've done several shows at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, and they're kind of starting to make a tour of a lot of the military bases in the Carolinas. And you know, it's a really cool thing to bring the fights to the troops. Sometimes these troops can't, you know, with their duties on base, they can't always get out to the fights in some of the larger cities. So it's really cool to bring the fights to them, do these fights with the troops. These are open to the public. The public can come on the base as well, but it gives a chance for these troops to get in a chance to see these fights live. And where in other cases they might not always be able to.
Because a lot of times these bases are in rural areas, and there's not a whole lot to do besides what's going on the base.
Right. Always happy to entertain our troops. They deserve our support. The true warriors watching MMA
on the rise.
Joey Bennett in the dark trunks. Charles Johnson, the white trunks. Bennett looks to be the physically bigger of the two, coming down from 155.
I don't know. Charles Johnson looks pretty fit. Looks pretty large.
He's fit. He looks a little leaner, a little thinner. When you see him lock up, you may see what I'm talking about.
We got three 3-minute rounds scheduled here under ISCF rules.
Looks like there was a slight delay there due to locking the cage. We definitely don't want any cage doors flying open. You might know something about that there, Kevin.
Yeah, not a fun experience.
Here we go with round one.
Bennett seems to be more of a boxing stance. It looks like he goes in for a takedown. Not a very clean looking shot.
Didn't set that up at all.
Johnson definitely looks like he's wanting to stay on the outside, using that lead hand, pushing out in front. He's not really using it like a jab. He's just basically using it as sort of like a range, holding it out in front.
Bennett lands a nice leg kick.
Johnson's got to be careful with that. He can keep the range a little bit, but also too, if Bennett sees it, comes over with the right hand over the top, he could very easily connect.
Bennett goes in for the takedown. He's in the clinch against the cage.
Looks as if Johnson's trying to set in an arm-in guillotine. He's trying to defend the takedown, but it looks like he's setting in the arm-in guillotine just in case the takedown happens.
Bennett's got the leg reap, gets him down to the ground. If he could get to side control, that guillotine is not a threat. And it looks like he does just that.
Bennett definitely passes right over to side control. He's going to pin the arm down, also sometimes known as a salivary.
Yeah.
Known for Ivan Salivary, was very good at doing that in his prime, about pinning a guy's arm down and raining down punches or elbows.
Johnson should let go of this guillotine here and try to get an underhook and start trying to stand up.
Yeah, Johnson's basically holding on to that guillotine. It's kind of a lost cause. Unless he's able to get back to guard, and realistically he's going to have a hard time getting back to guard while he's holding it. He's almost better off letting it go getting to guard, and then if he still wants it, try to reestablish it at that point. Because honestly, holding that guillotine or that guillotine position from underneath like that, it actually gives Bennett more control. He's able to use his head and pin down Johnson's shoulder.
Bennett trying to step over to mount. Johnson blocks with the knee.
Bennett definitely seems to be the more experienced for sure on the ground. It was a nice transition. He blocked the leg, stepped over with his right leg. Now he has the full mount. Johnson is pulling everything he can on that guillotine, but it's kind of a hopeless cause. He's going to make Bennett's neck a little sore tomorrow, but he's not going to be able to finish it from here.
What does Bennett want to do to get his head out of there?
Honestly, if I was Bennett at this point, I would cross face and little small hammer fists on the face, and he's out, and that's exactly what he does. Now he's got mount. He's punching. He needs to posture up, cross face, Johnson down. Johnson reverses. Bennett made a big mistake there. He raised up too much and gave his base.
He's setting up a triangle here, and he's going to lock it on.
Bennett is definitely the more experienced on the ground here, by far. Looks like Johnson's an athlete, but
he's got it locked. 10
seconds. He's got it locked in.
Can he hold on?
Can Bennett hold on?
It looks like he is.
Wow.
Buffalo Wild Wings. You have to be here.
This is Adrian A. Henderson, and this is MMA On the Rise.
It looks like definitely Bennett has way more technique on the ground. He's going from one position to the next, transitioning well, setting up several different submissions. Johnson just looks to be just an athlete. It looks like he has some basics on the ground, but he's just relying on his athleticism. And it's working for him to a point. He's definitely getting the worst end of it, but he kept himself from getting finished there at the end. But I have a feeling in this round, if Bennett's smart, he's going to realize his dominance in technique there, and he's going to take it right back down, and he's going to have the whole round to work and get that finish, because that athleticism is only going to hold out so long as the fight goes on, as Johnson starts to get tireder.
Yeah, Bennett easily threw up that triangle, and the only thing that saved Charles Johnson was the bell. Getting ready for round two. Neither fighter looks fatigued.
Bennett takes the center of the ring right away, which is smart because that's one of the criteria the judges are looking for. They're looking for ring control. Having your feet in the center of the ring and the other guy on the outside says a lot to the judges that you're being the aggressor. Even if you're not doing as much, it's just you're basically trying to meet that guy in the center of the ring.
Controlling the cage.
Nice right hook there. He uses it again to try to set up his shot.
Again, Bennett's working in for that shot, and Johnson's holding on to that guillotine again.
Charles does dig in for an underhook, but he gets a big slam for it.
And Bennett was smart with that. He actually swept the legs over to the side, landed right inside position. That's a mistake that a lot of wrestlers make coming into MMA at first. They land right in the guard. It's obvious that Bennett was aware of that, and when he got that takedown, he scooped the legs around and ended right into the side control.
Looks like Bennett's going to try sliding his knee over to get to the mounted position.
He's going to head and arm. He's trying to set up a head and arm here, I think.
He is, and it looks like he's going to try to pass through, knee and belly, come over to the far side over here to set up that head and arm. If he's able to come through to the side, it looks like Johnson realized it and was able to position, but Bennett's going for it again. He's trying to come through if he gets his body to the far right side of Johnson. He takes the mount. He's trying to dig his head up underneath.
Johnson recognized, pull his arm out.
Bennett now needs to posture up and rain down punches, but he needs to make sure he cross faces Johnson down. What happened last time was he let Johnson set up, and Johnson was able to sweep him.
Well, he's got him in a bad spot now. He's raining down punches.
Right in his corner, getting directions from his coaches.
His punches don't have a lot of power on them, but they're scoring a heck of a lot of points. Johnson's in a horrible position here, mounted.
You know, and honestly, it's not just the fact that the fighter who's in his corner is getting instruction. It's also, too, the fighter on the bottom, that really takes a toll on your confidence. When you hear the other coach, you know, you can hear what the other coach is telling his fighter to do, and you know you're getting dominated. And it's just, you just kind of feel like you're at a complete disadvantage besides just the position.
Very deflating.
Johnson's struggling to try to come out, but it looks like he's stuck.
Bennett's got a nice high mount. Difficult for Johnson to buck out of that.
This could be done soon.
This is what I was talking about the athleticism factor. Johnson was relying heavy on his athleticism early in the fight, and he was able to scramble his way out of danger in several positions. But right now,
he's turning over. This is about to be done.
It looks like his gas is giving out on him. So once that gas goes, relying so much on athleticism and not technique.
Bennett not throwing very powerful punches, but enough.
Enough to do it. There's your winner, Joey Bennett. He gets his win over Charles Philly Johnson. Here we are with your official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Blake Price called the halt of action. 2 minutes and 51 seconds into the second round. Your winner by TKO in the red corner,
Joey
Joey Bennett.
Bennett, your winner with a dominant performance. Congratulations, second round TKO. You are watching MMA on the Rise.
Thanks again for watching another episode of MMA on the Rise. I'm your host, Tom Ziegler.
And I'm your fight tech, Paul Boo. Make sure to like us on Facebook.
You can also subscribe to us on YouTube at MMA OTR.
Also, check us out on MMAOnTheRise.tv. See you next time.